welcome to another episode of CrossTalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for the next 30 minutes. As you have come to expect from this particular program, we do our best to kind of keep a lot of the topics that we discuss community-based, whether it's something in the two towns that we serve, with the Whitman or Hanson areas, or even some of our surrounding communities. Topics could range from politics, local issues, things that are being discussed by the folks in our communities, or even events that are up and coming. Today we have a special program. We have some special guests, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Animal Protection Center of Southeastern Massachusetts, located in Brockton. I believe it's on West Elm Extension. And we have joining us Kim Kokkotos.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Kim is our guest, and you know their names better.
I do know their names.
Oh,
yeah.
No, we actually, there's 4 kittens here, but one of them happens to be in timeout at the moment.
One's in timeout. We did have an escape attempt a little bit earlier, and as much as we would love to have kittens all over the studio, it can be a little tough. But these are the Techno kittens. They got their names from a contest that we had on our Facebook page at the Animal Protection Center. We had over 100 submissions, everything from Brady Bunch names to Hunger Games names. Even we had some cocktail names, people wanting to name them Martini and things like that. Cosmo, the kitten. Yeah. And of all of those, we had an intrepid group of young volunteers go through our submissions, and they came up with the technology names. So we have Widget, we have Mac, and we have Zip with us right now. Okay. And then Cloud is in timeout, and Data and Pixel and their mom Apple are back at home.
Very, very nice. Kind of give folks who may or may not know the origin of the APCSM.
Sure, absolutely. So back in 2009, we were just coming towards the end of the Great Recession. I'm sure a lot of people remember. And that was a really hard time for nonprofits. People love to volunteer. They love to give their time when they have it. But money was tight, and it was hard for nonprofits to keep going. For that reason, the MSPCA had to make the difficult decision to close 3 of their branches. It was going to be Springfield, Brockton, and Nantucket. Well, a group of volunteers, including local veterinarians, volunteer workers, even some of the animal shelter staff, got together and said there is a huge need in the Brockton area for an open admission animal shelter. We cannot let this happen. They literally met in the basement of somebody's house to say, how can we keep the shelter open and running? And with support from the MSPCA, they were able to incorporate as an independent animal shelter the Animal Protection Center of Southeast Massachusetts and open up as an independent shelter on October 1st in 2009. So we're actually getting close to 10 years that we have been serving the needs of Southeast Massachusetts.
And if I can kind of recall, around that time you aptly brought up about the recession that we were just coming out of. And, you know, when folks don't have money, one of the first sacrifices they make are their pets. And I recall hearing stories, especially in the Brockton area, folks who would abandon their cats and their dogs because they were struggling themselves.
Yeah, it is very easy, I think, sometimes to paint people that bring their animals to an animal shelter in a bad light and to say, oh, how could you ever give up your animal? But it's often one of the most heartbreaking decisions that a family has to make, and that they make for the good of that animal. Especially as summer is coming up, it is unfortunate, but we do see people who are losing their homes even today. In light of the current economic situation, they're moving, they're downsizing because they have to, from houses that they may have owned to apartments that don't take animals. And so they bring their pets to us, and they really entrust them to us and say, please help find these animals a good forever home.
It's interesting you say that. One of the words you used in your explanation, family. I have pets. I'm sure you have pets.
Oh, yes.
And they are family. And if, heaven forbid, anything happened to them, or we learned that they had an illness or they needed some kind of medical attention, it's almost as though having a loved one or a sibling or one of your children being in need as well.
It is. In fact, before this litter of kittens, there was a prior litter of kittens. The gentleman had brought her in. She was pregnant. She had a severe ear injury that had become infected. He could not afford her medical care. He couldn't afford to take care of the babies, and he was heartbroken to do it. But he said, the best thing I can do for this cat is to surrender it to you. You can get it the medical care it needs. We used our Life is Precious fund, which we use for animals that have medical needs, everything from dental abscesses to, in the case of Audrey Hepburn, the mama cat, her ear. She had 5 beautiful babies. They were all adopted last month. In addition to her, she went home with one of her babies, which was a great success story for us.
And what's interesting is a lot of people assume that when you talk about an animal shelter, you're just talking about cats and dogs, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, actually, we get a ton of varied and diverse animals. About a month ago, we had a talking umbrella cockatoo.
Oh my.
It said hello, it said thank you. It was really cute. We have had ferrets, we've had guinea pigs and bunnies, we've had Chinese dwarf hamsters.
Goodness.
Yes, back in December, we had a 6-foot-long albino boa constrictor that we took in because we are an open admission animal shelter. We do not say no if we can help it. And we went to one of our partners, the New England Reptile Conservatory, and we said, hey, you have the special facilities for this animal. Can you take care of it for us? One of the great things about the shelter community is we do all help each other as much as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because one of the things, and I, from time to time, will take a look at the Facebook page and the website, and sometimes you have to put out word to the community, hey, we need assistance with a particular animal. Maybe this animal was brought in with injuries. I think one of the most recent ones that I can remember is a kitten called Little One that actually had a broken arm that needed some help, and it wasn't cheap.
No, it wasn't. The thing about kittens especially, like you can see these little ones here, they're 6 weeks old. When they were born, they were about half the size of my hand.
Right.
So when Little One came to us, and Little One had been stepped on, something had happened, and she had a very bad break in the shoulder area of her arm. Her cast actually had to be changed every single week because she outgrew it every single week. And those costs do add up. We spent over $38,000 for medical needs alone from our Life is Precious fund last year. Everyone from Little One, we had Jovi, a dog who herniated a disc. She became paralyzed from the waist down. And our friends over at Lloyd's Medical Center, actually we're going to be honoring one of their veterinarians this year, Dr. Buffman. They said we think that she'll be able to walk again, but she needs rehabilitation and physical therapy. And we have paid for it, and we have gotten her rehab and her PT, and she can actually stand and walk short distances now with her adoptive family.
Talk to me about adoptions and the animals that are easiest to find for forever homes, and others where it's you never can stay on top of it because people gravitate towards one particular pet than another.
Well, we know that these guys are probably going to go to their forever homes pretty quickly. They're not going to be on the adoption floor for a few more weeks, but when they are, kittens usually go very fast. They get snapped up pretty quick. Same thing with puppies. When we have young animals, those tend to go very quickly. Animals that are bonded pairs, where the two animals have lived together their whole lives and we cannot separate them in good conscience, they take a little bit longer to get adopted because you are taking 2 rather than 1. Also, our senior animals, even though we do charge less money in terms of an adoption fee for our senior animals, they are often on the floor longer. We were very, very happy this past weekend. Our longest resident, a senior cat named Scuttle, who had been with us since August, he went home this past weekend.
Okay.
And I mean, the staff, we were taking pictures and smiling and clapping for his dad who took him home, and that was a really exciting moment for us. Also, whenever we have an animal that has any sort of special need or disfiguring injury, I mean, the fact of the matter is they're just not as pretty as the other ones, and sometimes they need a little bit more accommodation, and that can make it hard to take them home.
Is there money in the budget for assistance for the staff in regards to separation anxiety, where you might have to seek some kind of either psychiatrist or someone to speak to because someone like Scuttle leaves the nest?
It's a bittersweet moment. We are big believers in chocolate therapy over among the staff. So, you know, we do always have a supply of healing Hershey bars over at the staff. But, you know, as sad as we are to see them go, we are so happy
Bittersweet.
to see them go home to their forever homes. And we have a great network of alumni. They send us photos, they send us updates. You know, it's not just a transaction, it's really a relationship where we get so excited, and we will share it around our lunch table. Oh, have you seen pictures of Banjo? You know, did you see that so-and-so Bella came in the other day and we were able to see her and say hello?
Talk to me about you talking since 2009.
Yeah.
That things have come along. I believe it's a nonprofit. You have a board of directors. You have a staff. How it's grown. How have things changed over the years as to when you first started out to where things stand today?
So when we first started out, remember, we were on the verge of being closed, and the MSPCA was fantastic in their support. They actually sold us the land for $1. That the shelter still stands on today. But even back in the beginning, if you think about any sort of startup, we were trying to keep the lights on every month, right? But the demand hasn't gone away. The demand has actually increased. And as we have continued to do good work, we've continued to build our reputation in the community. We have grown a fantastic core of volunteers, over 100 volunteers. They donate their time and their talent, anything from walking dogs to helping us with the website. And really that's allowed us to put some firm roots into the community, where now as we're coming up on our 10th year, we're able to look ahead and say, all right, well, what's coming down the pike in 3 years, in 5 years? How are we going to be able to anticipate the needs of the community, continue to serve, grow our education branch, start to do tours, you know, really start to look ahead rather than just focusing month to month.
A lot of long-term planning as to compare to when you're first trying to keep the lights on.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this, is when you're a new outfit, new organization, what do you do in regards to adopting policies and procedures, especially when it comes to taking in animals, when it comes to finding them a home, or making sure that when they head out the door, they have all their medicals are in order, shots are all in order, stuff like that.
Right. So even from the time we were very first starting out and just focusing on keeping the lights on, once an animal comes into our care, we work for that animal. So if someone comes in and they say, oh, I love that fluffy puppy, but I work 12 hours a day and it would have to be in a crate all the time, we are still going to look at the best interest of that animal, whether it was our first month or our 120th month.
Right.
And say, you know, well, we need to go through a process. We need to make sure that when you take that animal home, you're going to take them home forever. We've been very, very lucky in that we have some fantastic partners, not just Lloyd's, but we have VCA South Shore veterinarians. We have some fantastic both partners there and also partners in the community that are able to give us the resources that we need, donate them, provide them at cost, so that we can provide vaccines, we can provide microchipping, we can even do low-cost clinics, so that when we stay in touch with our families, we say, hey, do you need your rabies vaccine? Because we're doing a $10 rabies clinic, and you can come and you can get that taken care of. So we always do focus on the best interest of the animal and what those animals need.
How has social media been an assistance to keeping the organization moving forward? I would think if it was back 25, 30, 35 years ago, it might be it might be somewhat difficult to be able to network, be able to partner with certain organizations, and be able to do what you do.
Social media has been a huge, huge influencer for us, growing both the reputation of the shelter and actually getting the word out about who we are and what we do. Even today, people still think that we're the MSPCA. And while we love them, we don't get any funding from them.
Right.
So, you know, it's important that people understand we are an independent animal shelter, and our social media helps us do that. We have over 9,000 followers on Facebook, and it's not just kitten videos. We're able to put out a call. If we're short on kitty litter, we can put out a call. If we take in an animal that has an emergency need, we can do a quick fundraiser on our site and say, this dog needs an MRI as an emergency, and we need some help paying for it. We're also able to spread the good news about the things that we do. We have a new website that just launched last fall, and we're able to...
Share it if you will.
Oh, yes, www.apcsm.org. And you can see everything from our upcoming events to group tours that we might do, educational tours for scouting groups and school groups, all sorts of things that we do, and it really helps us get the word out. We can also tag our partners. We can sort of share information out as people need it. So social media has been a huge deal for us.
You talk about that the misconception is that the MSPCA still provides funding.
Right.
I myself, because I'm somebody who follows and someone who cares, and I'm a pet lover, an animal lover in general, that it's because of clever fundraisers that you do. Tell us some of the things that are done to be able to do outreach to the community, get them involved, and be able to at least have funding for the foreseeable future with these fundraisers.
Yeah, we have everything from volunteer-run fundraisers. We have a bake sale the second weekend of every month, which actually has really become the famous APCSM bake sale, because people actually come and they knock on the door and say, "We're not here to see animals, we just want some of the bread." We say, "Okay, all right, sure." We also do kitten parties. When we have kittens, we will do socialization for the kittens. It helps them get used to people. It's a $20 ticket for a 20-minute socialization party with kittens, and that's a fun fundraiser that all goes to our Life is Precious fund. We also have our Tails and Ties Gala, which is our big event of the year coming up actually this coming Saturday.
Correct.
It's a huge fundraiser for us. And then we'll do more fun things throughout the year, like Dogtoberfest, which is our sort of beer and dogs fundraiser that we do at the shelter in October, and our Paws in the Park walk that happens in the fall as well.
Let's share with folks the upcoming Tails and Ties Gala, the
Tails and
9th
Ties.
annual.
That's right. And if you're planning to come, you can choose. You can either wear a tail or a tie. We're not picky.
Little of both.
Little of both. We are going to be at Stone Forge in Raynham. It's a new venue this year. And it's a great night. You know, sometimes those galas, they can be a little stuffy, those dinners with like the rubber chicken on a plate. But we do provide a fabulous chicken. And also a squash ravioli, if you don't feel like that. But we have a silent auction, we have raffles, we have a dance game, we have a DJ. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do pride ourselves on putting on a fun evening to benefit the animals.
What goes into putting on an event like that? What's the planning? Is there a subcommittee of staff and board members that sit down and go, what's going to be successful? What's going to draw from our pool of volunteers or even the public in general to come and attend and learn about us and also have a good time?
We do. We have a whole committee that actually, I think we had our first discussion about it back in October, about everything from venues to how are we going to organize this year. We have a subcommittee that comes and finds all of the donations, everything from gift cards. We have a card detailing package. We have U2 tickets, Taylor Swift tickets, and a fantastic subcommittee of volunteers that go out and find those things. I don't even know where they find some of those things.
Right.
We do have some staff. The staff a lot of times help with the detail work. And then it's really, it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. We do a lot of laughing as we're putting together this event, and it's really just a joy to put together and put on.
It's one of those things that I can actually tell you, the viewer at home, that I've attended these and been able, my pets at home, Hazel and Sparky, the 2 dogs, that have benefited from the silent auctions and some of the things that they have, and had a fantastic time, whether it's the photo booth, or just to being able to talk with other people who care genuinely about the well-being of the shelter itself. So I would think that once the Tails and Ties Gala is in the rearview mirror, that you're already planning your stuff for later this year.
We're
or the
already
summer?
planning our summer things. Our big summer program is actually Pages with Pets. It is a free program for parents with children. It happens over 4 weekends, and we highlight a different animal each weekend, so you can come. We partner with a couple of local libraries, including the Whitman Library. And we do bunnies 1 week, guinea pigs 1 week, cats 1 week. We did reading therapy dogs.
So is this like
1 week.
If I could ask, is this basically children reading to the pets?
Yes. Yeah, it's learning about what it's like to have that kind of animal as a pet, so that, when kids say, I want a dog, it's, well, this is what goes into having a dog, and we can talk about that. And then they come, and the librarians bring books featuring that specific animal.
Oh.
And they get to read to the animals, and the animals roam around. And then in the fall, we have our Paws in the Park, which is our big walk festival. We have vendors that come out. We have demonstrations. We had a great canine demonstration that happened last year, which was a lot of fun. The policeman came, and he was hiding things around that the dogs could sniff out with the different vendors. We have agility demonstrations for dogs doing agility. That's a lot of fun, the Paws in the Park Festival. And then, of course, Dogtoberfest in October.
You had mentioned earlier on in our conversation that you were going to be honoring somebody, a doctor.
Yes, a doctor.
Ron Buffman.
Dr.
Talk to me
Ron
about
Buffman.
Mr. Buffman and what he's been able to provide to the shelter.
Dr. Buffman is not only a veterinarian over at Lloyd's Animal Medical Center, he's one of the co-owning veterinarians there, he also is one of the founding members of the animal shelter. So if you remember, I said there was a group of people meeting in a basement saying, oh my goodness, there's a huge need, we have to keep this going. He was one of those guys.
Wow.
And he has been a huge help. We have had, as an animal shelter that does not have a veterinarian on staff, to have the solid backing of a known and loved veterinarian in the community and, veterinary care facility in the community, that has been huge for us. So they do everything from, they do the spaying and neutering. So when these guys are 6 months old, they'll be able to go and be spayed and neutered over at Lloyd's. They help us with that microchip and rabies clinic. And when we have an emergency, when we have something that needs to happen, they're right there to help us. And so, as our committee was talking about, we want to honor someone. We want to give out this Pause for Applause award this year, who has really demonstrated not only their love of animals, but also their desire to back this as a needed facility in the community. And Dr. Buffman's name sort of came right to the top of the list, and stayed there.
Talk to me about some of the specialty things. I don't know where the growth is that you may offer, whether it's a rabies clinic or some kind of a clinic for folks to at least check the well-being of their pet.
Right, the microchip and rabies clinic is definitely our big clinic. We also do have partnerships with a lot of low-cost facilities. So if someone is coming in and they say, I need a little bit of help for my animal, but I can't afford to pay very much, we can usually put them in touch with that. We also have partnerships with the Animal Rescue League Spay Wagon. They come out, I think it feels like they've been there every week this spring. Spring is the time for spaying and neutering.
Sure.
And I was actually talking to someone today who had her kitten spayed there on Monday, yesterday. And she said, oh, they did a great job. They did a full exam. They trimmed her nails. They gave her 3 years rabies vaccine. They spayed her. All that wonderful stuff. And then we do have a partnership with the pet pantry. So when people fall on hard times, a lot of times they'll go to a food pantry and they'll be able to get some staples to get them through that. But a lot of those food pantries don't have pet food items. The pet pantry specializes in cat food, dog food, even certain other like cat toys, litter boxes, things like that. So if you're having a hard time and you need some assistance for your pet, you can go to the pet pantry. And so we do some collections for them as well, and they're a great partner of ours too.
That's I've never heard of that before. That is fantastic that there is such a service.
It's one of those needs that you don't think about, but there was a lot of questioning in the community. People would say, this food pantry is wonderful. Do you happen to have any cat food for my cats? And the food pantry didn't, because they specialize in things for people, which is just what they should do. And so a need was seen, and actually one of our staff is the executive director over at the pet pantry. Her name is Corinne Lawson. She's really wonderful. She is civically minded. She loves animals, and she has helped. They asked her to take over and help grow the pet pantry, and that's something that she's doing now.
When it comes to adopting an animal,
yeah.
Anybody who's watching at home right now,
Yep.
this is your opportunity to talk to them if they're considering it. What
Sure.
questions should a person or a family be asking themselves prior to walking into the APCSM or any shelter before looking to adopt an animal?
Well, first I think we'd ask that you take an honest look at your lifestyle. So again, sometimes people come in and they say, oh, I love this husky dog. This husky dog is a great, adorable dog. I work 12 hours a day and the dog would have to be in a crate and I live in a small apartment. And to that we would say, well, huskies are a working breed. Yeah. They need probably 2 30 to 40 minute walks a day at a minimum. They're going to get a little bit rambunctious if you try to pen them up like that. So your lifestyle really does tell a lot about what sort of animal would be good for you. Then we'd probably recommend that you take a look at that website, apcsm.org. There is a tab about our adoption process that will tell you exactly what will happen, soup to nuts, if you come in. Everything from making a connection to an animal to we will ask if you have any vet records. We will ask for confirmation that you either own your home or that your landlord allows pets, things like that. And so familiarize yourself with the process and understand that you may be able to go home with an animal that day, or you may go home, you may do the adoption but go home with the animal after it has had its spay or neuter or taken care of whatever medical need.
So it seems like it can be relatively a quick turnaround depending on the situation, depending on the animal.
Yeah, our animals, our cats on average stay with us for about 22 days. Our dogs on average stay with us for about 16 days. When I do tours for local groups, I always make sure to tell the children that, because they tend to see an animal in a kennel and think, oh, if I don't adopt it, no one will ever adopt that poor animal. And I say, no, chances are if you come back here a month from now, that animal will have gone to its forever home. We do have outliers, animals like Scuttle. Scuttle was a senior animal and he was with us for a very long time, but the Animal Protection Center doesn't have any limit on how long an animal will stay.
Wow.
We will keep that animal with us until it finds its forever home, or until we find a facility that might be better suited to that animal.
We got less than 5 minutes left in the
Oh
program.
my goodness.
Yeah,
and we've bored the poor kittens. They've fallen asleep on us. Yes.
Sure, Cloud is probably sleeping
Kids,
there too.
probably.
Probably. Anything that I haven't asked you in the past 25 minutes, but you feel is kind of important, whether it's a frequently asked question that at least you're getting a bigger audience to be able to share it with, or just, just a couple of subtle things to kind of remind folks in regards to the needs of a center like yours.
Well, actually, one of the reasons that our little friends decided to come in and share their presence, their sleepy, furry little presence with us, was actually because it is starting to be kitten season, and so it's a great opportunity to talk about baby animals. Not just animal shelters like the Animal Protection Center, but also some wildlife centers like the New England Wildlife Center. They are seeing an uptick in people bringing baby animals to them to help them. So I found these baby bunnies. I would like to help them. And I have found these kittens. And we always recommend that if you find baby animals, call up a center first. In the case of baby bunnies, mama bunnies will actually leave the nest in order to hide the bunnies from predators, and they'll only return a couple times a day. That's the case with a lot of animals, and so it might be that the best thing you can do is leave those animals alone, because the mama will come back to take care of them. In the case of kittens, if you find kittens, sometimes it's actually more harmful to separate them from their mama when they're young and nursing than it would be to leave them there for a little while longer. So we always recommend, if it's a wild animal, if they're bunnies, if they're raccoons, if they're squirrels, call up a wildlife center first. And if it's kittens or something like that, call up an animal shelter. Call us up. We will talk you through it. We'll say, how big are they? Are their eyes open? Things like that to help determine what's the best thing for the animal.
Hours of operation for folks who want to know, and maybe give them a little bit of a tease as to if they want to take a tour.
Sure, absolutely. So all the information about our tours, again, it's all on that website, APCSM, including a form where you can go and you can request a group tour. So our hours of operation, we are closed on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
But during the week, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we're open from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 4. So you can stop by, you can visit with the animals. We always love to see you, even if you're not sure if it's the right time for an animal yet. You just want to sort of see what's going on. You can always come by, buy a t-shirt. We'd love to see you. And if you are ready to adopt, check out those adoption processes. Check out all the information on that website. It's going to give you everything you need to know.
And I just want to let you know, again, the idea of this particular program is to better inform you about your community, the community at large. And if you have a chance, go on to the website, learn more about the center. And they got a fantastic staff over there as well. They have upcoming events that you can help them be able to financially take care of those animals that come in and provide those services. I want to thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you at home for tuning in here to CrossTalk. Until next time, have yourself a great day.